The ancient witness today is from Luke chapter 9. About 8 days after saying this, Jesus took Peter, John, and James and went up a mountain to pray. While Jesus was praying, his face changed in appearance, and the clothes he wore became dazzling white. Suddenly, 2 people were talking with Jesus, Moses and Elijah. They appeared in glory and spoke of the prophecy that Jesus was about to fulfill in Jerusalem. Peter and the others had already fallen into a deep sleep. But upon awakening, they saw Jesus' glory and the 2 people standing next to him. When the 2 were leaving, Peter said to Jesus, "Rabbi, how good it is for us to be here. Let's set up 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." Peter really didn't know what he was saying.
So thank you, Charlene. So on that note of Peter not really knowing what he was saying, not really being able to interpret what was going on at that time, we need a little help. We need some guidance around the intersection of faith and values. So with that, I'd like to invite Tracy and Lucy to come up and share a little bit about FavNews. So I've discovered these are longtime friends of this congregation, and it's great to have them here today. Could you share a little bit about yourselves with us today?
You hear me okay, Doug?
Yep.
All right. So my name is Tracy Simmons, and I wear a couple of hats. I'm the founder, the executive director, and the editor of FavNews, which used to be called Spokane Faves. I'm also a scholarly associate professor of journalism at the Murrow College at WSU. I live here in Pullman with my wife, who snuck in the back. And we have 2 dogs and 5 chickens. And happy to introduce, let Lucy go next. Lucy is one of our wonderful interns.
Hi, my name is Lucy. Lucy Stutesman, or Lucille Stutesman. That's my fancy name. I'm currently a student at WSU in the Murrow College as well. I'm studying journalism and media production. And I'm also interning, like Tracy said, for Faves. And I live in Pullman. So.
Great. So how would you describe FavNews?
Sure. FavNews is kind of complicated. If you would have asked me in December what FavNews is, I would have told you that we were an online publication that covered religion and ethics in the Inland Northwest. But we're in a period of growth right now, which is really exciting. And as of January, we're more of a religion news service for the area, Newswire. Our content is now published in the Spokesman Review throughout the entire week. So we're filling that role as the religion beat for that area. In fact, on today's front section of the features section is our story about the oldest Black church in Washington State, so I'm proud of that. Also, as of January, we are officially partners with Spokane Public Radio, and so what they are doing is interviewing our reporters and our columnists on air, and so the last story they did for us, similar to what you guys are doing, we had one of our reporters write about how faith communities are responding to ICE and immigration coming through town, kind of with the Know Your Rights workshops, and so our reporter was able to talk on air about that. We're also partners with the Moscow Pullman Daily News. Sounds like some of you have read our columns, which are in the religion section twice a month. And then I'm really excited about this. This is brand new, this will start this month. We are officially partners with NWPB as well. And so we will have a 2-minute religion show starting here very soon, which I'm excited about. And that will also really expand our reach, because we've been covering Spokane, the Palouse, North Idaho, but NWPB has a reach throughout the entire state into Oregon and even BC, and so we're gonna have to step it up a little bit. We also, told you it was complicated.
Yes.
We also share a reporter with Range News, which is an online publication in Spokane, And that reporter specifically covers extremism for us, which unfortunately has become a beat within a beat right now. And we do this all with a pretty minimal staff. So we have a handful of people who are contract. That includes myself, Bob Stout, who's here, our development director, Cassie Benefield, our associate editor, and some other people. And then we have 15 freelance reporters who write about religion locally for us, which means we officially have more reporters than the Spokesman Review right now.
Nice.
And we have 40 columnists who write for us as well from all different faith perspectives, mostly mainline Christians, but we also have Hindu and Muslim and Buddhist and atheist, etc. So in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Yeah, this is a great work that FavNews is doing. And you have an event coming up, right? Uniting the North Inland West?
Yep, Uniting the Inland Northwest is coming up April 27th in Spokane. And we actually did this in 2016 when Donald Trump won the first time. And I was living in Spokane at the time, and what I noticed was just a lot of, like an increase in hate crimes. And for example, I remember this Muslim woman shopping at Fred Meyer got a hijab pulled off, in the grocery store. And there were some racist graffitis, happening throughout the area. And I know my neighbors across the street had Trump signs up, and when he won, they put balloons on it. And so like when I would drive by, I just felt these anger emotions going through me. And so I thought, I'm not the only one feeling this way. How can we put an event together to help us be better neighbors to one another? And so in 2016, we called it the Good Neighbor Conference. And it was at Gonzaga, and we had hundreds of people, and we just did workshops on how we can be better neighbors. But then we realized that State Farm kind of owns that term. And so this year we're calling it Uniting the Inland Northwest. And I'm pretty proud of what we're doing. We have a Humanities Washington speaker who's going to be talking about the philosophy of Ubuntu, which is community building and helping us kind of see each other, the humanity in one another. And then from there, we're gonna go into 6 breakout sessions, and we'll be discussing everything from homelessness in the region to immigration to the next generation's vision for unity. We have something a little bit lighter too on like how food and faith unite people. And so that will be at the Montvale Event Center.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like a lot. That was April 27th.
April
right?
27th
Okay.
from 4 to 7.
Okay, great. I think we all know what a question is. I was wondering if you could help us think about what a question does, being a communications person, being a print journalism person.
Do you have any thoughts on that one?
That's a very philosophical question. Well, I think what a question does, a question can do a lot of things. And in terms of journalism, I feel like it's kind of a key, and it gives us the answer, hopefully, ideally, and it also, this doesn't sound so stupid, it gives our audience the answer, and I just think it's like I said, a key to be a little weird about it. Yeah.
I don't think that's weird. I would also add that a question is an invitation to dialogue, and hopefully a tool to help us gain more information, to help us challenge assumptions and clarify perspectives. And hopefully through that we can come to an understanding of one another. If the other party is listening, that's the other part of it. But yeah.
Cool. And I believe you mentioned internship program earlier. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of students want to go into sports reporting or into broadcast journalism or something. And I really think there's value in religion reporting, even if that's not the beat you want to pursue when you graduate. Because I think religion reporting really helps you learn how to check your own biases. It helps you be uncomfortable, which I think is a good thing, because you have to go into maybe a house of worship that you've never been into before and report on traditions you're not familiar with and ask questions of groups you're not familiar with. And you have to be humbled a little bit. And I think that it challenges you in a way that maybe other beats don't, because you're talking about things that you care about. And so you have to learn how to write those stories by putting your own biases aside and trying to be as objective as possible. And so whenever I see a student who has any inkling, any interest in religion, I try to snag them and get them into our religion, or our internship program. And no pressure, but our very first intern is now the managing editor of the Spokesman Review.
Nice.
And we do pay our interns minimum wage, and this is the first year that we have two interns, so it's pretty exciting. Our other intern is at the University of Idaho, and her story was just published on the NWPB website, so that's pretty cool. Do you want to tell us what you've been working on?
Yeah, I think the Spokesman, or the FavNews internship was, it was a really good opportunity, like Tracy said. But in terms of like myself, I've done things that I've like never imagined I'd ever do in my life, like go into churches that I'd never like think of going into. Like there's a church downtown that I've heard a lot about, and I've heard a lot of bad things about, and I went there to do an article on it, and I don't want to say anything bad about the church. So, but it's a really good opportunity, and I really enjoyed, or am enjoying, working for them. And I've really gotten the opportunity to speak to, like I said, not only, I guess, go to places, but also talk to people that I never really speak to on a regular, like, journalism internship. So.
Great. Well, yeah. Yeah, I want to thank you both for coming today, and I wonder if there's anything we might have missed that you'd like to share as we wrap this up?
I was just going to add, I know you had asked before about like how we got into journalism.
Yes.
And so happy to kind of just touch on that real quick. I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I took a journalism class when I was a sophomore, because it was the only class I hadn't taken that was like a writing emphasized class, and I loved it. It was like a style of writing that I could do, that I enjoyed, and I got to talk to people and tell their stories, and I had a teacher who saw that in me, my interest, and really became a mentor and an advocate for me. And so the next year I became the editor of my high school paper, and then I feel really fortunate because I was 15 when I knew I wanted to be a reporter. I got an internship at the Albuquerque Tribune, which sadly is now defunct, but so I got a taste of what the newsroom was like, and I got to write feature stories, and that was a Scripps Howard newspaper, and that Scripps Howard paper ended up paying my way through college, because that wasn't something that was on the radar in my family. It was kind of looked down upon. And so I've been doing it ever since, and now I'm trying to help the next generation do the same thing. But
Okay, so I grew up, sorry, that was really loud. I grew up on the west side of Washington State, and I watched the news, and I really wanted to be an aerospace engineer because I liked airplanes. And so I was going through middle school, and then ninth grade, I was failing math, and I was like, I can't be an aerospace engineer. But I really hate math. I really hate math. So I was thinking about it because it was a really, at the time I was going to school in New York. I had moved to New York, and I was really thinking about what I wanted to do, because it was a school that emphasized like early career development, even in high school. And so I was thinking about this, and then my English teacher said, Lucy, you should really consider being a journalist. You would make an excellent reporter. You always ask questions, and you always, it's kind of like a cheesy story, but you always ask questions,
Quite right.
And you're always reading the news, and you're the most informed out of anyone else in this high school. And so she referred me to a few journalism programs, and I love those programs, and like that was my moment where I was like, I'm gonna be a journalist.
Awesome. Well, great. Thank you. Thank you both for coming today. And thank you all for eavesdropping in. Yeah. All right.